A zero export controller, the grid export controller, is a unit that we've designed and developed for existing systems and new systems that are unable to export to the grid through certain regulations. The zero export controller, it connects to a system via the grid connection to your inverter, and what it does is it detects any export in your system, and once it detects export, we actually attempt to switch in loads to try and utilize some of your solar power. If that's not possible and you're still producing more solar than you're actually using, then what happens is it will disconnect your inverter from the grid and it will stop you using your solar. Yeah. In cases where you're not permitted to export to the grid anymore, a zero export controller or grid export controller is the perfect option, because it allows you to use your solar during the times when you are at home using various loads, but when it decides it wants to export, this controller will stop that from happening, and that keeps you within the regulations. Yep, we have systems designed and available for both domestic and commercial applications. We have the most common is a single phase zero export controller for your domestic setups, and we have the bigger 3-phase for commercial setups, and that can handle up to 100 kilowatts. Okay, if this device is required to be installed on an existing installation, the installer would just need to mount our zero export controller, which is in a nice little neat box. They just need to mount that next to the switchboard, put your current transformer on the mains. This will measure the incoming and outgoing power through the house, and then you would just connect it in line with your grid connection on your inverter. For the 3-phase inverter, it's the same also. Obviously the components inside are designed are larger and suited to 3-phase, obviously. When you want to connect loads to these systems, you'll need to identify a load in your on your circuit. Large battery chargers, air conditioners, pool pumps, those are ideal loads, so that when your solar starts to export, we could switch in your pool pump, and once that switches on, it starts diverting the solar to the pool pump to use that for energy instead of going out to the grid. Once the device is installed, there is no way that the power can export to the grid, because it's physically stopped by the controller. There is a contactor inside that actually cuts it completely off, so there's no chance of export.